I got started into shooting a bow. Teacher at the time, his name's Earl Futrell. Mr. Futrell, he started a NAS program in 6th grade. So it was a period we had, it was called enrichment. It's like the last hour and a half a day. You could choose what you wanted to, what you're interested in, and there was a giant list. I mean, you pick 3 or 5 choices on there, and you're gonna guaranteed to get one of those 5. I wanted to be in PE because I was like, we're gonna play dodgeball, we're gonna go play basketball, we're gonna go run and have fun, and so I got PE. But then it's like a week later, so he brings in these compound bows, and I didn't know what the word archery meant, so I was like, archery, what in the world? And then I was like, wait a minute, that's a bow and arrow. And I got obsessed with it, and I switched immediately. I went to the upfront counselor, and I was like, is there any way I can get into this class? And they're like, yeah, there's room for it. So I got put in there, and I thought we were just going to be shooting, we're going to just rip these things back and, let it eat. We actually had to take a curriculum, dude. It was like a real class. So you had to learn all the whistle commands, all the parts of the bow, parts of the arrow, safety, of course. You had to learn everything. You had to take a test. You had to pass it. So that took like 2 to 3 weeks. And then we ended up started finally to shoot these bows. We started at like 5 yards, and I couldn't even pull the thing back at 20 pounds.
They want to make sure you hit the target.
Yeah. And, the guy, he was a big bow hunter, man. Big archery enthusiast, brought his hunting bows in, his arrows and broadheads, and we all ate it up.
Welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host, and today we have a good buddy of mine, Cody, and Cody works over at Easton Archery, but I love Cody's story, and I got to know Cody a little bit before he came out to Easton. You guys may well know that he worked out in North Carolina. That's my home state as well, and he worked in an archery shop and very near to the place where I was born. I never knew him out there, but we met through social media, love what he does, and now he works at Easton. You guys know that I work with Victory Archery and absolutely love Victory's arrows, and Easton also makes an amazing arrow. I'd say they're the top 2 arrow making companies out there for especially the hunting world and definitely the target world as well. Today, we're going to dive into arrows a little bit, but also more of Cody's story and how he's gotten to where he is now. And just absolutely love the way that he approaches relationships, whether it be in the outdoors industry or in just simply the growth aspect of building relationships with other people, such as myself. He's been a great friend, awesome human being, and I'm really excited to bring this conversation to you guys. Before we get into that conversation, though, I do want to remind you that we have an amazing opportunity for you, brought to you by my partners over at LEUPOLD. For those of you that are listening into the audio only version, make sure you head over to the YouTube channel so you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and get entered in to win a LEUPOLD 65mm spotter. Their new SX4 Gen 2 has some amazing upgrades to it. I've gone over it in a previous video. Long story short, no purchase necessary to enter. Simply subscribe and fill out the link down below. And once you've done those 2 things, you are entered. And once we've hit 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is a milestone that I've set for myself this year as part of my full year goal of hitting a certain number that I'll share with you guys once we've hit 6,000. So no purchase necessary. LEUPOLD's been very amazing as a partner, and we're going to be giving away that spotting scope to one lucky winner. Just go get entered, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Drop a comment. I appreciate the engagement there as well. And any questions throughout this episode that you may have for Cody, whether that be about Easton, whether that be about his archery journey, whether that be about his trip from North Carolina out here to Utah, whether he's liked it or not, and whatever it may be, drop your comments, your questions down below for Cody. He's a stud of an individual. Absolutely love this guy and appreciate his friendship as well. So all of that being said, guys, let's get into the conversation now with Cody. Yeah. What's going on, everyone? We've got an outstanding guest today. We've got Cody Griffin here. You know him from Easton Archery. And guys, I've been shooting Victory for years, so we won't get into that whole which one's better, right? But Cody, I met Cody through Instagram a while back. It was a couple of years ago when he was working at Extreme Outfitters. Is that what, out there in North Carolina. And I was born in that area. Obviously didn't know him back then, but loved the way that they portrayed their videos and everything, and what Cody was doing. Then he ended up out here in Utah and works at Easton Archery now. So I want to get a little bit into kind of your story, who Cody is, how'd you end up at Easton, and then let's talk, of course, the new arrows. Everyone wants to hear about the new arrows. I'm sure you're tired of talking about them, but
I enjoy it. I think it's a cool.
Yeah,
we had a cool launch this year. A lot of folks were looking for what we brought to the table, and we delivered. And now we're playing catch up with all the orders. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess let's start. Who are you, Cody? Before Easton,
they call me Cody. Yeah, it's my parents' name.
It's the legal name, right?
That's my government name. That's what I go by. But no, I came from a little town called Richlands, North Carolina, and I got started into shooting a bow. Teacher at the time, his name's Mr. Futrell. He started a NAS program in 6th grade. Mm-hmm. So it was a period we had. It was called enrichment. It's like the last hour and a half a day. You could choose what you wanted to, what you're interested in, and there was a giant list. I mean, you pick 3 or 5 choices on there, and you're gonna guaranteed to get one of those 5. I wanted to be in PE because I was like, we're gonna play dodgeball, we're gonna go play basketball, we're gonna go run and have fun, and so I got PE. But then it's like a week later, so he brings in these compound bows, and I didn't know what the word archery meant, so I was like, archery, what in the world? And then I was like, wait a minute, that's a bow and arrow. And I got obsessed with it, and I switched immediately. I went to the upfront counselor, and I was like, is there any way I can get into this class? And they're like, yeah, there's room for it. So I got put in there, and I thought we were just going to be shooting, we're going to just rip these things back and, let it eat. And we actually had to take a curriculum, dude. It was like a real class. Mm-hmm. So you had to learn all the whistle commands, all the parts of the bow, parts of the arrow, safety, of course. You had to learn everything. You had to take a test. You had to pass it. So that took like 2 to 3 weeks. And then we ended up finally to shoot these bows. We started like 5 yards, and I couldn't even pull the thing back at 20 pounds.
They want to make sure you hit the target.
Yeah. And, the guy, he was a big bow hunter, man. Big archery enthusiast, bought his hunting bows in and his arrows and broadheads. And we all ate it up. Like archery was, there was a good group of people in that class. I met some good buddies in there. So it was fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So all through kind of what grade was that again? You started
6th grade. I did enrichment every 6th, 7th, and 8th, like every semester. Mm-hmm. Like that was my thing. Enrichment was going to be archery, and that's what. And then I went in high school. I finally started to compete a little bit. We had a FFA program, and I think I was a freshman or sophomore. And we went to this little challenge. Like you had 3 different events. You had you're shooting clay birds or, skeet, and then you're shooting a 22 rifle and then archery. And I got on the archery team, and I got lucky there, and I placed the highest in the school, but I did not win by any means on the regional level. So I did not advance. And what you were doing is you were shooting at 10, 15, 20, and 25. And it was kind of at like a spot, like a single spot. You had, I believe it was five single spot, like 5-spot target you were shooting at. And like a perfect score was 200. I think I shot like a 180 or something like that. So I dropped a couple, but it was fun. It was a great time. That kind of intrigued my interest, into target archery. And then I got the target bug really bit me like later on in life, like I was 21, 22. So
that's awesome. So you get through junior high.
Yep.
Or out there, it's called middle school.
Middle school,
right?
Man. Middle school.
You got junior high, but so you got middle school, high school, and then did you carry that on through?
So actually, after my senior year, I took a little bit of a hiatus from archery, and I was just focused on school. Like I didn't know what I wanted to be, man. And high school's such a weird time because you have to get up and ask to go take a piss, and then months later they tell you, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? So I just had to ask to go use the bathroom. Now you're going to tell me, what should I do for the rest of my life? Like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. What's my career plan? And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just wanted to be successful and have fun, and not really work a 9 to 5. And what I mean by 9 to 5 is jobs aren't a bad thing, but going to a place where you hate working, and I see that all the time, or I was seeing that all the time, with friends of mine that were getting into the job force and stuff. And where we were, where I was born, where you were from, actually, a lot of military, a lot of people joining the Army and Marine Corps. And I thought about joining the Coast Guard. A friend of mine, Riggs, and I, we had looked at it, but I had a history of asthma, and they wanted me to go blow the boat or something like that. And they're like, man, it's going to be a long time, ship dates and stuff. And we wanted to be rescue swimmers. We were going to be like the Hawaii 5-0 characters in Hawaii. We're going to be bachelors all of our life, and just God had other plans. And sure enough, he actually ended up joining the Marine Corps and I didn't. I went and, just started community college, and I didn't get back into archery probably until 2016, 2017. So from like 2013, like a 4-year gap, where I just didn't really hunt. Maybe went rifle hunting a couple times with friends and stuff, but wasn't too concerned about shooting a bow, at the given time.
So what got you back into it then? Like if you take a break, and it seems like, people do that every once in a while, though. Take a break before they get into it later in life, like I did. The adult onset archery or hunter or whatever you want to call it. So you took a break, and then like what brought you back into it?
Very good question, man. One day, I believe my cousin Noah was outside shooting his bow, or I had seen him like move it or something. I was like, man, I miss doing that. And don't get me wrong, when I was a kid, I was good. I didn't have like the best like technique. I was a trigger puncher, but I could punch like I had so many Robin Hoods at like 40 and 50 yards when I was like 16, 17 years old. And I had a good group of mentors around that time frame too, to like, we didn't know what target panic was or anything back then. We didn't think too deep into it. We just like, all right, just get the pin there and hit it. We were shooting just dumb distances and everything. But what got me back into it, I believe, is I saw my cousin Noah bring out his bow, and he had like a diamond razor edge or something. And I still had my first bow my dad ever bought me, and I still got it today. I probably will never sell that bow. My kids will probably see that thing first if I ever have any. And got back into it, and I had saved up a bunch of money because I was going to move to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I wanted to go to NC State and finish my math degree. And other things happened, and I just stayed in Richlands. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to be a school teacher. So I was already working at this daycare. I was an after school assistant or programmer essentially. And there was one of the dads that was there as well, and he was big into bow hunting. Only reason why I noticed that is he had a sticker on the back of his truck, Symmetry stands. I was like, this guy's a bow hunter, I bet. And I asked him, he goes, yeah. He goes, I shoot an elite bow. And I'm like, man, I bet bows have changed. Like I hadn't, the last bow I had was like a Destroyer 350 from Bowtique. And that was like the hot commodity back then, And so I went to the local archery shop in town at the time. And I just like, we're getting a setup. Like I'm going to just make a decision. And I ended up going back to a Bowtique. I had bought a Rain 7. I outfitted that thing, how I wanted it, and dropped like, gosh, like $1,600-1,700 on a setup, and got back into it hot and heavy, and that kind of just took over from there. And then literally after hanging out in that shop for like 3 months straight, they offered me a job, and I'm like, let's go.
Just kind of going back to that, was that a target bow or a hunting bow?
That was a hunting bow.
Hunting bow,
yep.
Cool.
And I was shooting hunting or target style releases. Like I was shooting a hinge, and a thumb button and all that stuff, but I wasn't shooting fat shafts. Like I was just a bow hunting setup with kind of like a target, technique, as I was shooting later on. So,
kind of a little hybrid.
Yeah, a little bit of a hybrid guy, like a little miniature Dudley. And that's when I actually found out who John Dudley was. Like I try to remember, I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was broken or something. I remember drawing back on this thing, and I had shot for like a couple weeks and like kind of got everything dialed into where I thought it was supposed to be at. And I had a problem where I was like underneath the target holding on. I'm like, what is this? Like my bow feels so heavy. So I was like, oh, I need a back bar. Put a back bar on there. That didn't help. And I was like, man, what is going on? And I just Googled like locked under target bow hunting. And then I found, Knock on Archery. And John had really just started like putting out a bunch of content, as far as free educational, technical content. Went down a rabbit hole, bought a silverback. And then that's when things started, really ramping up. So
cool.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. So then that shop that you kept going back to, was that Extreme?
No. So that was another store that was in the area, and I got offered a job there. Worked there for a little over a year and a half, I remember correctly. And I felt like I hit my glass ceiling there. Like that store is a great outfitter store. They have a bunch of gun sales and fishing sales. They're just kind of like you're outdoorsmen, if you're into all the seasons, you're probably just going to go there because they kind of have the name and they've been there for a while and established. But a gentleman that I had actually met in the gym, this guy I looked up to, he's a big power lifter. I was kind of like a moderate gym goer. I thought I wanted to be in the bodybuilding scene, and the time and dedication that takes. I was like, I don't want to go that route. So I was just your gym guy. I wanted to be strong, look good, kind of thing. And we would always be training around the same time. Never worked out with the guy. Couldn't possibly think about working out with the dude. But we would always train at night, and we'd always see each other. And I I'd always see his Extreme Outfitter shirt on, and I was always scared to go in there. I went in there one time as a kid, and it was like dark and just like not grungy by any means. It wasn't dirty. It was just dark and like not my scene, not my style. A bunch of military cats in there. I was like 13 or 14 years old. And I thought it was like a store where like skateboarding was going to be in there, dirt bike stuff. And it was all military stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm in the wrong joint. Yeah. But his parents, his mom owned that store. And Zach had just started to get into bow hunting. And like I remember him walking into the store I was at. And I was like, man, I didn't know you were into this. He goes, yeah, man, I thought it was fun, you know. And fast forward like a year and a half later, Zach comes to me and says, hey, man, you know, what about like archery? How do you think it would do at Extreme? And I was like, I'm game. Let's go. Like, I wanted to go all out on this thing. And Zach did too. He wanted to have a place where his kids could come and shoot and, you know, and just for, you know, be there. Like if it was a family, it was kind of like a family environment, you know, kind of shifted the culture of that place a lot and very heavily focused on customer service and, you know, getting the right brands in there, you know, that we were going to service the customer base in the area and the market. And, you know, it led to being what Extreme is now. And dude, that place is not done growing. That place they're going to be a powerhouse, man. The next 5 to 10 years, everyone's going to know that name if they don't know it already, you know?
Yeah. No, that's cool.
That's kind of how I got into there.
So you started at Extreme about what year?
I started January 2nd of 2019 at Extreme. So cool. I think like 2017 or 2018, I was at a store. It was called Eastern Outfitters. And then we, you know, picked up the archery side of things. You know, January 2nd, 2019 was like my first day there.
That's cool.
Extreme. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. So obviously you're doing these, you started the YouTube channel. I imagine.
Well, they started that. I was just kind of drug into it. Yeah, no, that wasn't me. Okay. No, I don't take any credit. I was just I was in the videos stuff.
Yeah.
With Zach and JR and stuff.
That's cool. And you had a much longer beard.
Yeah. Grew a beard out. That's a funny story too.
Yeah. So you helped, you know, Extreme Outfitters with what they were doing with archery. They seem like really personable guys.
Yes.
And you three that as you were doing the videos together kind of fed off of each other. And you did a good job with that. You could tell one's more serious. I think that's probably Zach.
Zach is very and Zach's he don't have many sides. He's got like Zach's a very fun person to be around. Don't get me wrong, enjoy it. But Zach's also got that very business side where it's very you know, he's serious and he takes his job seriously, which is nice. There are a lot of people that don't take their job or their life serious, but you know, Zach is very serious. He wants people to know that you know, his brand and that story are very serious about everything they do. Yeah. You know, so
good.
He's got a cool demeanor.
Yeah,
a little bit different than mine.
So. Yeah, and you can tell he lifts for sure.
Yeah. You should have seen Zach when I first met him, dude. Absolute monster, like human being, monster of a human being. And he's like totally like transformed as far as he's probably lost 60, 70 pounds. I'm going to guess. Probably shouldn't speak for him, but he started doing like these Ironman triathlons and stuff, and just wanted to be more physically fit overall. And he's still strong as an ox. I mean,
I imagine. Oh, that's awesome. So you were there until, was it 23?
23, March of 23 is when I came to Utah.
Wow, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Just about 2 years. By the time this comes out, it'll be 2 years. That's crazy.
That's fast.
Because I remember seeing you and you know, knowing that you were coming out here and being like, okay, that's cool. And then we met officially at the BlackOvis event.
Yes. Yep.
And then since then it's just been, I mean, you're getting blown up left and right, I'm sure.
I apologize for people looking at my ugly mug. I don't mean to. Got very lucky getting here.
Yeah.
That was all luck.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, like and this is more for people that are looking to get into the industry, which if you're looking to shoot your bow more, hunt more, don't get into the industry. It doesn't make sense, right?
You won't do as much.
Yeah, exactly. But for people that do genuinely want to work in the industry or work with big brands like Easton or Hoyt or, you know, brands like that, what was it for them that stood out about you? Or did you reach out to them and apply for a job? How did that?
So it's kind of wild how it worked. So my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, she actually sent me a LinkedIn post, and it was for a spot called Promotions Manager at Easton.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, I think I'd like this. And I didn't know how long it had been up. You know, it had been up for a while. And sent it to me. So I try and upload my resume and I try and apply for it, but nothing's happening.
Brief interruption here, guys. I want to give a shout out to an amazing partner of the show for the last couple years. I've absolutely loved using the Initial Ascent backpacks up on the mountain. And recently they came out with my new favorite everyday carry bag, the EDC by Initial Ascent. Guys, I've done a breakdown of this video. You can go check it out on the channel. I won't go into it a ton, but it's got pockets where it needs it. It's small, but it's not too small. It's also not too big, so that you feel like a Ninja Turtle with a backpack on your back. Some of my favorite features, again, I've gone over them on another episode, so if you want more in-depth, go check that out. Outside of that, head over to Initial Ascent, guys. Right now is the best time of year to make sure that you get the gear in your hands so you can test it through camping season in the spring, tack and camping in the summer, and go for rucks with it. I mean, if you don't use your equipment and know how it feels, it's going to be a shock to you up on the mountain. And on top of that, the guys at Initial Ascent will make sure that it fits you the right way. So make sure the backpack gets fitted, put some weight in it when you get it, and make sure it fits right. Or if you've already got one of their packs and you're more in the market for an everyday carry backpack, something that you can carry your laptop with, you can travel with, throw in some extra layers, snacks, things like that, go and check out Initial Ascent, guys. InitialAscent.com. Use code RedBeard and save some money. You'll be supporting my partners over there, and you'll be supporting me here at the channel and my family. I really appreciate it. Now let's get back to the episode.
Everything's getting kicked back. Like the system is not wanting me to do this. So like a year or two before, like I had applied for that position, a gentleman by the name of Tyson Yates had actually came by the shop, and he was doing dealer visits with the rep at the time. And he came into Extreme, and like I remember getting his contact, and I'd still had it. And I sent Tyson an email, hey, Tyson, I'd love to know more about this position. I'm kind of interested in it, and I'd like to get your resume, but LinkedIn's being dumb and not letting me upload it. I keep getting this error. So he goes, just email it to me. So I email it to him. We talk on the phone, and we talk for probably an hour and a half. And just Tyson's, if you've met Tyson, very exciting guy. Yeah. He's a high energy guy. That's what I kind of like to put it at. And I was really stoked, and I didn't want to set myself up for failure, because I was like, man, this is like a dream. Like this would be my dream to come out here and do this gig. And he ends up getting my resume to the marketing director, which is my boss, Gary Cornum. And Gary does a series of interviews, and he had been interviewing. Like I said, I didn't know how long this position had been open. I figured it'd close really quick, so at least I got my name in the hat. And I didn't know, but it was Steve Anderson's old job at Easton, prior to his switch to Hoyt. And go through the interview process. And my final interview with Gary basically asked me if I really want to move out here to Utah, if I want to leave everything in North Carolina behind and come to Utah and do it. And I was like, I'd love to. Wow. And he says, all right, I'm going to send you an offer, and sends me an offer. I agree to it. And, I signed the paperwork. And I think the hardest thing I ever done was telling Marion and Zach, like, I accepted another position, because I felt like I was stabbing them in the chest. Yeah. They stabbed me in the chest to do it. Wrote them each an independent letter, telling them what was going on. And, oh, man, that sucked. Like, giving them those letters sucked. Like, that sucked bad. But it's something that I knew I wanted to do, was come out here and do this. And I just got lucky, dude. At the end of the day, it was just pure luck. And I happened to know Tyson, and Tyson just happened to get Gary my resume. And then I think what I guess sold Gary and Tyson was how bought in I was already on Easton, the brand, the product knowledge, the knowledge on the tournament sector. And I still got a lot to know and learn, like on the marketing side. Like from a marketing standpoint, I helped build Extreme's brand a little bit, but a lot of that was Zach. I was just kind of one of the voice boxes that was, shouting the technical stuff out, and what to look for and all this other stuff. But like, marketing, you got your 4 P's, you got product, price, placement, and promotion. And, I need to really I'm working on honing in on a lot of those things more sharper. Like there's a guy, Brandon Horoho, I'm sure you know him. He's a monster in marketing. He's like your industry legends, and it's kind of just picking pieces of everything they've done and like tailor making it into what we're doing at Easton, you know? So
Yeah, exactly.
but just extreme luck, dude. Got very lucky, like at the end of the day.
Well, yes, but at the same time, you were prepared. If you hadn't known the Easton stuff, if you weren't so bought in on that,
Yeah.
like, you wouldn't have got the job.
Yep.
If you hadn't been at your job that day and gotten the contact from,
Yeah.
you would have never gotten the job,
Yeah.
right?
A
And
bunch
so
of things led
there's
up to
a bunch of little things, and it's funny when you end up getting something that you really like doing, how you can go back and kind of find those breadcrumbs of, man, if I just had been 3 steps to the left on that day, I wouldn't have been.
Good Lord works in
right?
mysterious ways, man, and it just happened to work out for me.
Yeah.
But no, and it still feels surreal. Like I wake up a lot every morning just about, man, I'm really getting to. I'll never forget my first drive, driving into work.
Oh man!
And see the whip bill. It's like, dude, I freaking made it.
Yeah.
Like I got lucky as a dog, but I'm here, and now it's time to grind.
And then once you're there, you get to see the mountains and everything. It's just a gorgeous
dude. There's mountains
view.
everywhere here in Utah. You guys know your direction so well, and I'm like, they're like, oh, the east side. I'm like, where's the east side? They're like, I don't know what we're talking about.
I went through the same struggle, but once you figure it out, it makes sense.
Yeah,
and it's like, why does it everywhere?
You know who's native and who's not, real quick by the directions.
Exactly. No, that's awesome, man. No, that's really cool to see it. And I didn't even know that story, so I was kind of wanting to know about that a little bit. So now you're at Easton, promotions manager.
Yeah.
And you do. I mean, your face is on the Easton page. You talk about product a lot, and I guess why were you so sold on Easton versus? There's so many arrow companies out there. Why Easton?
It's kind of like the first arrow I shot. Like I started out with a Genesis arrow through NASP. Then like my bow hunting setup were Beeman, ICS hunters. And then it went to the ST Epics, the Slim Technology Epic arrows. And then I played around the area I was at. Everyone was pushing Carbon Express for a while. So I shot a little bit of that stuff and I went into the Easton Axis immediately after that, played around with that for a couple weeks and went to the Easton Axis, and then the FMJs and then back to Axis. And Axis has just been the staple, like in my career. If there's one arrow I will take anywhere on the planet, it would be an Easton Axis. Depending on the loadout with the components and stuff, I can make that arrow work for anything and everything. And the other thing that was kind of like near and dear, growing up, just outside of a military base, you would know, like American made is a big thing, and supporting American manufacturing and stuff. And, Easton, we're the only ones making arrows here in America. Everything else is outsourced, outside. And that was a big, at the point of purchase, that was a big thing for me whenever I was buying arrows and stuff like that. And then the other thing is Easton's got these lifelong partners like, John Dudley, Cameron Haynes and stuff. And like, these guys could probably go anywhere in the world and make a boatload of money shooting anything. And they still stuck with Easton. And it kind of just, those kind of testimonials and stuff, that's a lot of the reason why. And then if you look at the tournament side, man, Easton has dominated. Like they've dominated the Olympics ever since archery's been introduced to it, in the Olympics. The field and FIDA circuits dominated that. They were dominating 3D for a while, lost a little bit. Now we're back up and running. We're cruising again in 3D. Dominate indoor. So it's kind of one of those brand things. There was a lot more trust in Easton than any other brand, I think, for me.
I got you. No, that makes sense. Yeah. That's really cool. Anything I'm missing as far as part of your story that maybe you've been asked before at shows or whatever that you want to share with the people?
That's kind of all of it. I'm here and wanting to grow. The brand is, we're 100 and Easton's 102 years old now. 1922, 103 years old. And it's kind of just keeping that going. And, I don't mind being on camera and stuff like that. That's another thing. But Easton's way more than me, dude. There's so many other people that make that thing roll. And like, people ask me all the time, oh, what's your Instagram? Do not follow me on Instagram. Only thing you're going to get is like some videos of me squatting, benching, or deadlifting and shooting my bow from time to time. I might do some commentary stuff I'm going to start doing. But follow the company page. I guess I don't ever want to get caught up in that as far as being the one person that knows being the face of something. It's kind of, there's multiple faces there. So.
Well, you went incognito by trimming your beard up a little bit.
Did.
So I'm going to grab some of the arrows.
Yeah.
Tell everyone your story about that long beard, though. You said there's a story.
Oh yeah, no, there was a customer of mine back in North Carolina. Him and his wife, they were pregnant with a child, and the gentleman was growing a long beard. And he says, I'm growing this beard to basically, there's a story in the Bible, like Samson and his hair and stuff like that. Yeah. So I can't grow head hair, and the other guy, he can grow head hair and beard hair.
That's why you wear hats, right?
Yeah, that's you see, you got a shiny chrome dome up there. And they weren't like experiencing complications or anything, but he says, I'm doing this so like he's a very biblical guy. This guy, I look up to him a lot, kind of like a mentor almost. And I was like, you know what, dude? Because you're growing your beard out, I'll grow my beard out. So, you're two babies. Yeah. Sure enough, baby's healthy as can be. Dude had a giant beard. I had a giant beard. It was super cool. So I was like, not superstitious or anything, but I was like, oh, that's super cool. So that's kind of why I grew it out. And I just wanted to see if I could. It takes a lot of patience to grow a big beard. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does.
Not fun to shoot with archery.
Yeah.
Don't recommend.
And there's some people that I've seen that actually will trim
the section
right here so that they're knocking point or they're.
There was a video that went pretty popular. Jack shreds, ejac shreds or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know the gentleman at all, but I've just seen stuff come up on my explore page, and I saw where he shaved like half his face, and I was like, oh, that's good. That's golden. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I don't know how many times I've had a release yank out a chunk of hair.
So I never had. I've had like little pieces, but I've never had like a giant chunk come out. And people have asked me, oh, does it hurt when it hits your hair? I'm like, no, it's not pulling it. It's just like, you're swiping it.
You can just tell after I've been shooting for a while, my beard's like pointed that way.
Yeah. Well, that's when it was really long, dude. Mine was thinner on this section down here. Just because when I get an anchor, and then I have to start coming in anchor like this, kind of like tucking it, which was nice because I get a little bit more out of my peep pine. I could shoot a little bit further now. But no, I think this is the max I'm going to run for a while. So,
no, that's awesome.
Don't grow it back anymore. Redding, you don't want to shoot a long beard with, I was shooting with Joel Turner one day, and that's when I decided it's like I can't do this anymore. Yeah, he got like a wild photo. We're in the wind, and the thing is just I can't even see my peep side. My beard's like flipped. I was like, I ain't doing.
You just gotta like tie it down, Just
I tried that. It wasn't working either, man. I put it in like a ponytail, and it was just so awkward because that was the only time I was getting stuck in a release. So with a hinge, it would pull into it, and it wouldn't have anything. It would just get trapped in. So I was like, we're done with this.
Yeah.
So
no, that's awesome.
What we got here?
So we're gonna talk. Wild Arrow has some now. By the time this comes out, I'm sure they'll have more. Right, Jay? We have some more arrows, hopefully. By the time, actually, we need to talk to this guy about getting them some more arrows. No, but they do have some right now, and they come in these beautiful packages.
Sharp. We have a wicked graphic designer. Him and my boss, they came up with that packaging, I believe, together. So
right, yeah. So they do come in bare shafts, and then I guess walk us through the different. So some people maybe they want to get components elsewhere. Honestly, Easton's up there when it comes to some of the better componentry out there. You guys know that I've run MFJJ or Podium Archers titanium half cert with a collar on some of my lighter arrows that are a little bit more brittle. Had really good success with that. And then I'm not a big fan of 4mm componentry, so I usually do a glue-in system on 4mm because it just shores up the componentry up front. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I love the Evolution glue-in stuff for that. But you guys here have, so we've got a 5mm, so it's just a 5.0, Easton 5.0. And then these are the factory fletched arrows. So talk to us a little bit about the 5.0. What top 3 things that you would say make this different from other shafts that you've run in the past, and I guess different from what's out there on the market right now?
So this is kind of an arrow that if we had a hole, if you would describe in our lineup, it was a lighter 5mm, platform.
The Axis
arrow.
Runs.
Axis a little bit heavier of an arrow, than what's on the market.
For
300's 10.3, I think, or 10.7.
Ooh, yeah, that's up there with like FMJs.
Yeah, well, the FMJ's like 12 grains per inch on a 300. So heavy arrow, and the market that heavier arrow market, held for a long time. The FMJ's been in business for a little over 2 decades. Same thing with Axis. Those brands have been strong, and they still continue to grow every year, which is wild. So this being the 5.0, a little bit lighter platform. It was kind of new territories, but this arrow had been in, from what I understand, what I've been, told, this arrow's been almost a decade in the making. So we came out with a little bit more higher modulus platform through our AccuCarbon process. And if you don't know what AccuCarbon is it's a seamless process that we use to build arrows here in the U.S., especially on our hunting lineup arrows. But There's no spine like high side or low side on these arrows, the way they're designed and made. It's uniform. So wherever this is what, a 300, I want to say.
Yep.
So whenever we, if you put this on a spine index or a spine tester, it's going to hit 300, no matter where you turn this arrow at. The other thing is we're able to control weight really well with this shaft. So with that AccuCarbon process, it's seamless. Imagine an arrow that's 3,000 foot long and we chop it at 31 inches. It just gets pulled and chopped, pulled and chopped. That's a big thing. And it's single die, single mandrel. So we don't have any component fits because it's, 3,000 foot of arrow, is constantly going through one die and one mandrel. So we control the inside and the outside diameter. So component fit's great. But the need for this arrow is, a lot of guys are wanting that higher FOC builds. They're wanting something a little bit zippier out of their bows. And, that 400 to 450 now is like the new market, what the market wants. And I think, the reason why this has been in the process is so long is because we wanted to really feel like we perfected it. We wanted to hit the weights that people, the market was wanting to see, while also creating, a lot of structural integrity in this shaft. So tell everybody making arrows, and I'm probably the last person that should be talking about making arrows, not an engineer, but talking with the guys, it's kind of like making a cake. You can make a cake with more sugar, more salt, less salt, more flour, less flour. Same thing with an arrow. You can build it, multiple recipes with different pieces of carbon, with that. And that's what our engineers design is.
Yeah. Sweet. So a couple things here. First off, that this is factory fletch. So it's not as good of a job as I do. I'm kidding. It's actually really good. So that's about if it'll focus on this, not Cody's wonderful face there.
I'll get out.
Oh, you're good. It's a 2 degree, probably 2 degree offset.
I don't know what if we call it. It's
mild, but there's a slight helical.
There's a slight helical, yeah,
to
right.
The right.
Helical, yeah.
And they're solid. They're on there, guys. So it looks like someone at your bow shop or you went through and did it, and that comes from the factory. And their AE hybrids, which are what I ran last year, and we'll probably end up running again this year. It's a great vein.
It's a staple.
It's an awesome vein. So that comes factory fletched that way now instead of I think there's blazers and stuff on there before.
Yeah.
I personally like this vein a lot better than that. And then again, great job on that. So the other thing too, though, that you were mentioning, we were talking about this off the podcast, was you're messing around with a 400 spine at 72 pounds. Now he's got awesome muscly arms that are shorter, right? So you're compact.
T-Rex,
right? So he's got like a 27 and a half inch draw.
27-inch draw.
Yeah. So 72 pounds, 27-inch draw, and you're still cutting them a little bit longer, or is this?
I think those arrows are like 27 inches carbon to carbon, and I was just playing around one day. We had some 5.0s in what we call cognito mode, and they were labeled differently. We had some
experimentals.
Well, they weren't even that. We had axis labels. We ran them full camo, man. You couldn't tell what they were. You didn't know what they were.
Well, if you pick them up, I'm sure you.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, but I had some 340s up. Well, that's what I shoot in an axis, and I hit the weight I want with an axis. A 340, 50 grains of brass, 100 grain head, and a collar, 3 fletch with a heavier vein on the back. It puts me at right around like 440, which is sweet for me. That's where everything tunes good around that weight, and everything. I really know my trajectory around that weight. It's really what it is, around 270 or so. And put the 340s on there, and I think these are a little bit more dynamically. They tune a little bit different dynamically because it is a little bit higher modulus carbon, than an axis. But my 345Os were tuned a little bit stiff. They were a little bit knock right. And that's the same setup I had on an axis, the same cut length, the same 50 grains of brass. Actually, I think I had 75 grains of brass in there, 100 grain head, a collar, or 125 grain head and a collar. And they were coming in like 420.
Brief interruption, guys. I do want to give a shout out to an amazing partner, Tricer. I've been running the Tricer tripods for a little over a year now. Absolutely love the AD. If you have to pick one tripod and you're maybe on more of a budget, but you want a nicer tripod, go with the AD, and then the LP head. That pan head is fantastic, super lightweight, very smooth. Will do just about everything with that combo alone. But if you're in for something maybe a little bit more sturdy, maybe you like the micro panning, maybe you want a seated tripod, maybe you're into shooting and you're looking for a new bipod, which is coming out, the Tricer RP. And I'll tell you guys, even with the pre-sale going on right now, you can use code REDBEARD and save some money on getting the new RP by Tricer. Now, I've put my hands on it, but I haven't gotten to use it out in the field. I will tell you, it looks fantastic. And if it's anything like as sturdy as the tripod right here, this is my new favorite tripod, the Tricer JC. So that Tricer JC, and then I threw a DZ head on it. The DZ head is the ball head along with it's in a ball head attachment right here. So you can swivel, cant, however you need to, locks down super quick with a lever. And then you also have, it's basically a BP with a ball head on top of it. Here I've got the all-in adapter on there for all my optics and whatnot. But if you don't have the all-in adapter, that's fine. There's a quick detach on top there. Super easy, locks in, quick detach, boom, boom. There you go. This is going to be my favorite setup this year. It has weights in here that you can put in or out. If you want a heavier tripod, lighter tripod, etc. Guys, Tricer, Drew, the team over at Tricer, have done an amazing job with this. I've loved glassing off of them, and I'm excited to check out their new shooting tripods. I'm not huge into rifle shooting, but I do understand that obviously a tripod is going to help you with accuracy in the field and out on matches. So I'm excited to try that out as well. If you're interested in any of those products, and where to go, the gun clamp right here that you can slap right on top of this. I didn't even think to show you guys that. There you go. Slides right in and out. That easy. Boom, boom. Now you've got a ball head with a mount for your gun that you can clamp it down. I'm excited to get this out on the range, get my kids shooting the 22, and to sight in my rifles for bear season this spring. So again, head over to Tricer.com and go get your tripod. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Shoot me a message. More than happy to help you out. Or you can even shoot a message to Drew. Let him know RedBeard sent you. The code for Tricer is RedBeard. And again, right now on pre-sale is that RP for the bipod from Tricer. You're going to want to snag that, guys. Check it out. Take it out in the field. Use code RedBeard to save some money on that pre-sale. Now let's get into the podcast here that we're listening to right now.
And just a touch tip. They were still grouping great. I just, just aggravated with the paper tear I was getting, and I had everything right where I wanted. I like to run my, my arrow rest, center through the limber or the limb pocket. If I'm a little bit left of the limb pocket as far as where that bolt is, that's okay with me too. I just don't want to be too far out or too far in. And I shim cams. If I can, if it's big enough, I'll shim the cams and get rid of it. Well, I'll shoot it. It's a little bit knock right, and we're talking, like half an inch. I'm like, ugh. So I was like, you know what? So I went to one of the engineers, like, man, you got a 400 laying around? Gives me 400. I cut it the same length as 340. Shove a 75 piece of brass in there, 125. Shoots a perfect hole, through paper, like 10 feet away. I was like, oh, what is going on? I was like, shoot two more, same thing.
And how much do you have up front on a 400 spine?
It's like
220.
It's like like 220 or something like that.
75 grains of brass, 125 head. The collar's 15 to 20 grains ish.
Yeah.
So right about 220 up front, which is heavy.
Yeah.
For most people,
and
right?
The arrow's like 392 grains.
Yeah.
I think that might be with Fletchings. 394 grains with veins.
So you're that's
it's like a 6.8 or 6.4 GPI.
Wow.
Shaft, yeah.
So, and then just to kind of hit on, we kind of breezed over this, but with your 340, you had the same amount up front.
Same amount, yeah.
You're coming in at 4.
It's like 415, 420 or something like that, right around there.
And so knock right, that little bit of knock right can indicate stiff.
And that's it. I think there's a lot of factors into paper tuning.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, I'm shooting knock right, but my bow's shooting great, still shoot it. I mean,
this is after you've gone through and made sure your bow's tuned.
They still pound. I mean, the 340 still, they still ram. I mean, they wad up. But I was like, man, maybe I'm missing a little something. Maybe I can just experiment, play around with tuning and stuff. So I threw the 400 through there, and I was like, paper will tell you one thing, but the groups will tell you another. And the groupings were really good with the 340s, but I was just still aggravated with that paper tear I was getting. So I cut the 400, same length, shove the same amount of brass, head, collar, shoot it through paper like 3 times, and it's a perfect hole. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and that's with the bear shaft. And that's kind of telling me my form's probably pretty solid, is what I'm thinking with paper. So let's put it at a target, let's aim at a dot at 20 yards. And I'd already had some Axis arrows, some 345 actually, that I had already shot through there to hit the back. And so I picked one up, aim at it, boom. and it busted the knock into the 340. So I'm like, man, this arrow is shooting really good. So I go to the archery center down the road, 55 yards, and I'm shooting in the center of this thing, and it's there's
no fletching.
Dude, the flying so good you lose track of it. And I'm like, man, but my case is probably a little bit differently. I'm not on the most efficient side of that cam. If I was 28 inches, I'd probably need a 340. But being an inch off the cam, or off that mod, I should say, from the bow, the Alpha X I was running. So I didn't have the most efficiency out of it. I think that plays a role into it as well. And I think me just being a shorter draw length had a lot to play with it as well, too. So, but most people are going to fall into that 340, 300 range, I think, at 70 pounds. So, with that amount of weight up front. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool. So, and being able to go down in the spine. So not only are you getting a lighter shaft in the standard spine that you would normally run, you're able to go down the spine in some cases. Yeah. That's awesome.
I'm probably actually going to leave that arrow, that 340. I'm probably going to move it about a half inch longer, probably 27 and a half, 27, 3/4. Use the same amount of weight up front. And I think that's going to have that's my ultimate build, somewhere around that 420 to 430-ish range. With that much weight up front, 220 grains, that's sweet.
That's a lot.
And if I wanted to leave it a little bit lighter, I'll just go down to the 400s and play around there. So
that's cool. And again, just kind of hitting on this for people that maybe are just getting into archery or new to arrow building. If you add weight or length, so adding length or adding weight to the front weakens your spine. Adding weight to the back or shortening the arrow stiffens it a little bit. So that's why he was saying adding a little bit up front as far as the length, and that might help. And then this one was pretty popular last year. Seems to be pretty popular again this year.
Yeah.
The X10 Parallel Pro. So this is your 4mm offering. You've got a 4mm axis as well, but this is the one that a lot of people seem to be going after last year. What's so special about this one? I've heard there's some voodoo behind it.
That is the voodoo.
According to Mark here at Wild Arrow.
So this arrow is, it's an X10. And if anyone let's just cover the history of X10. X10 was brought to the market in 1995. And it was designed for Olympic recurve archery.
I was 3 years old.
Dude, I was.
Right.
And so 95, the market saw the first X10. And what that is it was an arrow designed for recurve archery. So with an X10, it's tapered in the front and in the back. So imagine it's a 3.2 millimeters, under 4 millimeter. The biggest, section is probably right in the middle right here. And it tapers on this side and on this side. And the reason is when a finger shooter, oscillates, that arrow is actually going to go around the shelf a little bit cleaner. And the tapering's also, it's a wind issue, or not an issue, it's a wind solver.
Right.
So you got less surface area there. Well, that platform of that arrow is built on an aluminum core and a carbon, wrap on the outside. But the scrutiny those arrows goes through are unreal. And as far as the manufacturing process, it is very labor intensive. So, you're the best of the best, you're playing around in the X10 room. And fast forward to like 2006, 2007, I believe, the Pro Tour came out, X10 Pro Tour. That was designed for compound archery. So instead of it having a taper on both ends, it's a single taper. So it's a taper on the front end of the arrow. So the back end kind of works up, still 3.2 internal ID, but it just tapers down to the front end. They built that. It's a little bit lighter of an arrow, so it flies a little bit. It's a little bit, the modulus, the carbon's a little bit different, but the spine and GPIs they're a little bit different from an X10 as well, but it's just a little bit lighter overall GPI per spine for the Pro Tour. Fast forward to this guy, 2024, with the taperings and stuff, they can, for a shooter that's not super serious or super advanced, they can kind of bring a little bit of an issue tuning them. If you cut anything off the back of an X10, you increase the spine drastically. So we don't recommend that. Don't cut anything off the back of a Pro Tour at all, or you weaken it significantly. So always cut off the front for an X10. But we're like, what if we're missing a hole in the line with a parallel X10? If we, with 4mm, this could be used for hunting applications, target applications, recurve applications. It's still a smaller diameter. It's still made on the same X10 chassis. And that's what I mean by the chassis is the internals. It's got this still, it's an X10 core as far as the AC product, as far as it being aluminum. And then the carbon on the outside is still, used with the same carbon we're using to make X10s with. It goes through the same process. There's just no tapering. It's a little bit bigger in diameter. And with that, without it being tapered, without the core being super small, we're able to bring it to the market, at a extremely competitive price point, with the performance and the benefits you get with it being an X10, processed arrow. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Anything else we want to hit on these arrows?
We've got another one too, but I don't think you have it here yet.
The FMJ Max.
FMJ Max.
What's the GPI on that one?
That's the dark horse.
Yeah.
It's 10 grains an inch. Or no, I take that back. It is 9.7 or something. So
like sub 10 for an FMJ, 5 mil.
It's 5 mil.
And previously they were 12 plus.
They're 12.
And that's, again, we're throwing out numbers for 300 spine.
I think there's a 2 grain difference. It might be like 9.5, 9.7, or it's like right. I think it's just.
And I've noticed too with the FMJs, a lot of people will spine down compared to carbon. Yeah. Okay. A lot of people come in and
they're trying to
340.
They're trying to get, save the weight.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Like a 340 is like I take that back. I think a 300 is coming in like right at 10.
Okay.
And I think a 340.
It's on the website, right?
It's on the website. Actually, there's a catalog right there. Grab that catalog. That's a new catalog.
No, knock over the swirl here.
Don't knock over that thing. That's a telescope. Let's pull that thing out. Let's see.
5 mil FMJs.
Oh, go back. You're going to go back to this page. It might be
stuff up front.
Yeah, go net one more. Keep going. That's 4 mil. There we go.
FMJ Max.
FMJ Max. What are we looking at?
300 spines, 10.3.
10.3.
Yep. So right
and
at
a 340 is 9.8. Yeah. So they're very much so mimicking the weight of an axis is what it is.
Gotcha. Oh, that's awesome. Sweet. So, and then obviously there's different tiers when people order their arrows. You can get the match grade versus the standard. Yep. What makes that difference?
I think with the match grade, you get a lot more value out of it. You get an enhanced fletching option, so you get an AE hybrid. On the back right helical, standard, that comes standard with all match grade fletched options. Okay. As far as 6-packs, or if you buy them individually in the bulk fletch packs and stuff like that. But you also get collars with them. So a hit and a collar, through our findings and stuff with our engineering team, that's the best system out there compared to a half out. And then we do offer some wicked components, for the 5 mil. If you're not a hit person, we do offer the new match grade, half outs, and we have a new 55 grain half out. It's a static half out, so it doesn't really cover anything. But match grade, we're actually checking straightness in 5 places. So we're checking straightness in the center, we're checking it on the quarter notes, and then we're checking it on the ends for any kind of end wobble. So that's a unique feature about match grade, and every match grade arrow goes through that. The weights are plus or minus a grain, and that's year in and year out. So that's not just saying, oh, on this box these arrows weigh 205 grains. The next box might weigh 208 or 209. No, we're year in and year out consistent on weight, which is really cool. We also have a new nock. This is the new 5 millimeter micro light nock. So it's a little bit shorter shank than an X nock. A little bit thicker ears are what you're seeing right here. Engineering just found a little bit more of an enhancement, to the 5.0, to the match.
Getting it close, getting the string closer to the carbon.
Yep, string closer to the carbon. That's the accuracy, thinking behind it. But match grade, you get the collars for free buying match grade. You get the enhanced fletching option if you buy the fletched arrows. Just a ton of value there. 5-point straightness check on the shaft. We're not just checking a little span of it. Some companies will do that, check a span, and if it measures out 1,000, that's their match grade or their 1,000th of an inch offering. But just a ton of value in the collars themselves. The collars aren't cheap. They're stainless steel. They're numbered to the size per spine. So that's really cool. But yeah, match grade's just a better offering, I think. It's an offering a lot of people, I think, are going to go to this year.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, is there anything else that you want to talk? Arrows, Easton?
Talk whatever you want to, man. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I've asked all my questions. I guess we'll see if there's anyone else that has questions whenever we put this out there and see if anyone has questions about it. But no, I think these are some awesome offerings. I know when people come into Wild Arrow, they're definitely in my top 2 that I refer to people to get. And now that Wild Arrow's got some on the shelves finally, because everyone that pre-ordered, is getting their arrows, and then we've got some here on the shelves. I definitely recommend go and check them out over at Wild Arrow. They'll make sure that you're taken care of.
For sure.
They'll have shop. Just a great shop, great people, and you'll be able to come and get your hands on these arrows, see the difference between what you're currently shooting, and then what Easton's got coming for you. So outside of that, anything else, man? Where can they find your squat videos?
Yeah, nah. Easton Archery. Easton Archery is the Instagram handle.
Yeah.
No, we got a bunch of YouTube stuff too. We upload, Easton Archery our YouTube. A lot of technical stuff on there, so we dive deep. We've got some really cool video series coming soon. It's gonna blow people's minds away with what we know about carbon and arrows. We've been doing this over a century, and there's a lot of info we hide out, and we're gonna slowly start letting people in on why I think, personally, we were the arrow brand you should choose. So
sweet. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. All right. Well, you heard it here, guys. I'm going to leave the links down below where you can check this stuff out. Again, come into Wild Arrow if you are local to the shop, and the guys there will take care of you. If you see Cody at any events, definitely go swing by, say hi to Cody,
for sure.
And tell him he needs a longer beard again.
Yeah,
right. And outside of that, like I always say, guys, get out, live your life, and love it. Hope you enjoyed that conversation. Cody is, again, just an awesome guy. I've said that so many times. I mean it. He really is one of those genuine individuals, brings such an amazing energy to his company, also to the relationships that he has made along the way. And I appreciate that more than anything. He is so willing to help and to talk about, he'll talk to you about arrows. He'll talk to you about anything and everything. And whether you're shooting an Easton or not, he just absolutely loves archery, the outdoors, and I think he fits in really well here in Utah. So again, thank you so much to Cody for hopping on the podcast here. Really excited to have had that conversation. Now, guys, I also want to remind you again, if you haven't yet, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Get entered in on the 65 millimeter, brand new 65 millimeter LEUPOLD spotter, the SX2. You don't want to miss out on that. No purchase necessary to get entered on that. I want to get this in the hands of somebody as soon as possible. So as soon as we hit 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, I will be giving this away on a live on YouTube. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel, fill out the link in the description, and you're entered. So with that being said, thank you so much for the support, guys. I really appreciate you continuing to tune in every episode. Let's continue to grow here in 2025. Like I always say, get out, live your life, and love it.